my vacation is coming to an end. It's back to work tomorrow. Right now it's about early afternoon on Sunday, so this is also the last day of Spookathon. Spookathon was hosted by BooksandLala, and it ran from October 14th through the 20th with 5 various challenges to meet. I met 4 of the 5. I had kind of planned on that. There was one I knew I wouldn't get to, but still I'm happy that I managed to read all the books that I had planned to read for Spookathon. I'm going to go ahead and go over those. The first challenge was to read a thriller. That's the one I decided to pass on. I wanted specific books that were more ghostly oriented, so I focused on the challenges that were more along that lines. One of the books that I read was met 2 challenges. It was the one with a spooky word in the title and also a spooky setting. So for that I chose The Full Croft Ghost by Darcy Coates. This is the second book I read by this author. Previously I read Craven Manor, and I really enjoyed that one, and I enjoy this one as well. This one follows 2 siblings. There's Tara, she's 15, and her younger brother Kyle, who's 11. And they go to stay with their maternal grandparents, the Falcrofts, Peter and May Falcroft, because their mother is in the hospital in a coma. You find out why she ended up there throughout the course of the story. But the thing is, they've never met their maternal grandparents. Her mother's never spoken of them. For some reason, she even changed her maiden name when she left home. So there's some rift between the grandparents and their mother that they don't know about. And so that's a little concerning to be sent off to this home in the middle of the woods with people they really don't know. But when they first meet them, they seem exceedingly friendly. Peter's a bit quiet, but still friendly. He doesn't say much, just goes about his business and, you know, welcomes them into the home. The mother's exceptionally friendly towards them, very welcoming. She's always cooking them wonderful foods and baking, and she gives books to Kyle. One of his favorite things to do is to read. And to Tara, she gives her a Polaroid camera, because she knew she used to be in photography, or into photography. So they at least know some things about the kids, even though there's been that distance where they've never actually even met. Everything seems quite idyllic, except for the fact that they don't really have, they don't have any TV or anything like that, and there's no internet connection, which is something that Tara finds a bit difficult, because she has like a blog she does all the time, and that's how she connects with her friends and stuff. And in fact, when they first arrive, the grandmother says, "Oh, you know, your cell phones won't even work here. Here, let me take them, and I'll put them somewhere so you won't lose them." And right away, that's like, okay, what? Why do you have to like put them somewhere? It's your, that bothered me. That made me nervous right away about them. It was just an odd thing to do. But again, they seem very friendly. Maybe they thought, well, you know, it's out in the woods. You might drop them somewhere, and you're not gonna be able to use them anyway. So why not put them someplace safe? So you don't know how to take that quite. Well, like I said, it's a very isolated house, and there's lots of weird things that go on in the house, strange noises, rooms that are kept locked for some reason, things that seem to move. The author does a very good job of slowly building this kind of tension between things in the house and the activities of the grandparents, and you're not really sure as the story progresses, is it supernatural things going on here, or is there something more realistic in terms of the terror that slowly starts to build? And you'll have to read it to find out. But I really liked the way that the story slowly kind of pulls you in, and as little things are kind of revealed, and you're just kind of left wondering through most of the story, and it was just very well done. I always love kind of remote settings like this, and I thought it was very good. So I'm looking forward to reading more by this particular author, and if you've read anything else by her, let me know. The next book I read was one that just fit one of the challenges, and that was to read a book with red on the cover. And this one I've had for quite some time. It's a YA horror book by Dan Pawlowski called The Nightmares. It just screams red. Also reminds me of The Shining with those 2 girls standing there. And this follows a young high school student by the name of Timothy July. He has a secret that he's been keeping even from his best friend, and it's really pressing on his mind. He has an older brother named Ben, just a few years older than he is, who upon graduating high school joined the army and was sent off pretty much on the front lines. And his best friend Stuart, his mom had said something to Timothy's mom about, you know, how could you let your son do that, you know, and kind of almost like a guilt trip on her, but that was Ben's decision. But since then, an accident has happened, a terrible roadside bombing kind of thing, and Ben was seriously injured, and he's in a coma, he's still overseas, and they haven't been able to see him, but Timothy's parents don't want him talking about it because they're afraid that, you know, Stuart's mom will find out and they'll, you know, make them feel even more guilty about allowing him to go. And so he's not really allowed to talk about it, even share his feelings with his best friend or even a counselor or something. So, you know, it starts to build in his head, and he starts to have nightmares about things and his fears for his brother. We also meet a young girl by the name of Abigail. She's sort of a quiet student, always kind of keeps under the radar. One day in class, he's kind of watching her because she keeps flicking this lighter. And he keeps staring at her like, you know, he's never really paid much attention to her before. And then the teacher is like assigning pairs to work together for a project. And he accidentally kind of like scratches his head, and the teacher thinks he's now volunteering to work with her, and his friend Stuart is furious, like, you know, hey, we always pair up and we do these things together, and he's like, hey, you know, it was not my fault, but it causes a bit of a rift between the two, and Abigail's kind of mad because she likes to just kind of hide under the radar. Now all of a sudden, like, everyone's staring at her like, you know, why are you two working together? And anyway, it pulls these two together in a situation, and we find out Abigail has some problems of her own. She's had kind of nightmares that she's been trying to escape, kind of centered around this kind of image you see. There's a curse that they're going to end up kind of encountering as they're working on this project. They have to pick some kind of object in a museum and do a 10-page report on it with some kind of imagery or graphics or whatever they wanted to do, and she picks this one particular painting, and it's going to lead them into quite a crazy world. The imagery that's put in through here was very well done with regards to the various kind of nightmares that they both encounter, both waking and sleeping, and I thought that was pretty creepy. I did a really good job of that. This is another one of those kind of slow builders, as things are slowly revealed and they're kind of exploring as they kind of come to knowledge about a particular curse and possibly its connection to Abigail's family. And I really love the way it kind of is like a slow burner and just kind of pulled me right in and sucked me in. So I was really pleased with this one. I do also own the Stone Child, which is mentioned down here. For some reason I thought I had read it, but according to my Goodreads, it doesn't show that I did. I don't know, but hopefully I'll get around to reading that one again soon. But I really enjoyed that one. So that took care of the book with red in the cover. And the final challenge that I decided to meet, I stretched this one a little bit, granted. It says to read something that you don't, that's an unusual read for you. I tend to read in terms of graphic reads is usually manga, so I'm usually reading Japanese manga. I decided to go with a graphic novel in this case. I do read them from time to time, but actually not all that often. Again, I'm stretching it, I know. But I've had this one and I really wanted to read it, particularly for, you know, October and Halloween kind of reads. But I went with Chris Grimley's Frankenstein, adapted from Mary Shelley's, you know, novel. I bought this, you know, just looking at the cover. I knew I had to have it when I saw this, and it's a beautiful book, and I just love the depiction of the characters. That is our Victor Frankenstein right there, and it is a fantastic adaptation of it. My one concern, and I would recommend having maybe a magnifying glass, or if you have good eyes, you're going to be fine, but well-lit room, because there are letters within the book, quite a few at the beginning, and then a few towards the middle or end of the book, where it's written in various handwriting script form, so it is a little difficult to read that. I did have a little trouble, I don't have the greatest eyes with astigmatism and everything, but there's quite a few pages of that that I had a little problems with. But other than that, the color palette chosen within there, I love the page layouts and everything, where sometimes you have just free-formed illustrations or some within boxes. There's the brooding Victor again. And I still thought they did a fantastic job. I mean, like, there's the monster right there, First Awakening, and his terror upon seeing it, his creation. It has a steampunk kind of feel to it as well, because you have a look at some of these images here. There's like this car. I thought it definitely had a steampunk feel, the goggles and things. There's a few more if I can find the illustrations of them here. Let's see. Even that vehicle. This has a really cool look to it. I also liked the way they told the monster story, where he's sort of, you know, after he's been abandoned by his creator and he's left to kind of roam around on his own, and he encounters the blind man and the people taking care of him, and he begins to understand what love is and caring, and he starts to kind of try to provide for this blind man, chopping wood and bringing food and stuff, and then he gets the courage up to kind of approach him and kind of tell him, you know, how lonely he is and how people shun him, and unfortunately how that doesn't go very well afterwards when other people show up and see him. But I love how they told it very, very simply. They got that whole story across with very few words, just these small little boxes that told that story rather quickly, and yeah, portrayed that whole thing. So they didn't have to cut out a whole lot. I thought they covered the story very well. There's another interesting little boat there, kind of paddle wheel boat. But I love the illustrations of it. It's absolutely fantastic. Trying to see if I can find that one scene, but I don't know where it went. Yeah, there's another one. But I highly, highly recommend this if you're interested in a really awesome graphic novel and an awesome adaptation of Frankenstein. But anyway, that was my Spookathon week. I really enjoyed it. I was glad to get through all the books that I had planned, so that was my Spookathon compilation there. And again, I got 4 out of 5 challenges completed, so I'm happy with it. So how'd you guys do? Did you guys participate in Spookathon? Let me know down below. And I'm going to go off to read some more for Victober, because I got at least another week and a half or so of that to go. So see you guys later. Thanks for watching. Boo!